Hey, what is up guys? Marsley here, back to do another video, and today I've got a game against Senna. This is going to be on Tournament Creator, another pretty awesome game. I do post my videos once every 3 days, or I try to get them out on that schedule. But I want to provide you all with quality games, and they don't always come in the time period that I am expecting, so I often have to play a lot of games to get these highlight clips. Anyways, this is going to be a pretty great game here. I did a couple modifications, as you guys have seen in my last video. The rockets are a little bit different on the attack bikes. I added that 2D glow plane to the bikes, so it has that green glow like the militant rockets got, but it still maintains the bike projectile. It's just a little easier to visualize the rockets, and you're going to see in this game that it's going to provide me with actually an advantage. I'm going to be able to visually see those rocket projectiles on my bikes. It allows me easier to determine if I am to retreat from an engagement, when to switch targets. It just gives me slightly quicker reaction time. That's the advantages of that. Now, this game, I have another game after this to cast, which is probably going to come out afterwards, but this is going to be Black Hand for me. My opponent is going to be Zocom. And I know what you're thinking, Zocom. I know it's got a disadvantage against artillery, but it's not as bad as you think in R19 because of the laser fence nerf. Those MCBs are more vulnerable, so Zocom can kill them pretty easily and quickly. +5 Zocom Firehawks with ceramic armor can bomb a Black Hand or any faction tier 3 building with a laser fence on it. Only requires 5 Hawks without hard points. If you're a faction other than Zocom and you build Firehawks, then you can just upgrade hard points, and it probably requires only 4 or 3 Firehawks to bomb a MCV, which is pretty insane. But there we have it. I'm going to go under wave and expansion. No rush coming out for me so far. Hope you guys enjoy the lighting on this map. It's the same as 6 Shooter Showdown. It's a little bit better than the default lighting that Tournament Creator had. I expanded on 1 power plant. If you are expanding on 1 power plant, I advise you guys to power down one of your refineries that is not expecting a harvester to dock in it, because you will be able to queue harvesters from your war factory a little bit quicker. Trying to anti-scout him because I want to keep him guessing. I'm going for a second war factory. My plan at this point is to go for a bunch of bikes and punish his expansion. But knowing me, I have probably a more advanced plan in play. But it's so far looking like 2 war factories. In fact, I know what I did here. I played this game yesterday, but sometimes my plays are just too complex that I can forget hours later. So what I'm doing here is I'm building bikes in 2 war factories, and I'm queuing a tier 2 to decoy army my bikes up, so I can make a distraction group of bikes attack him from one side while the real group attacks him from a different area. I'm going to sell that tier 2 just to anti-scout the areas of this map. I'm going to make it look like I am on 2 war factory bikes. I want him to know that I'm going for bikes. I'm going to build another tier 2. It's cheaper actually to sell off a operation center to get a Black Hand squad than it is training a Black Hand squad from the Hand of Nod. It's only $750 if you sell off a tier 2. Pipple's out here for Senna. And when I do this split tactic with the bikes, what I do with this is I split off 1 bike from the rest, just so I can get the decoy group ahead of the others. So I'm going to decoy these bikes here and put them where my real bike is. So here we see it there. And not only that, I want to put the real bike in front of the decoys so that it has the vision range. The real bikes provide vision, and this bike here is going to provide me with the vision that these decoys need, so that I can pull back the decoy force and I'm not going to run into his army. So it gives me more options. Plus, if the opponent targets the decoy bike, which he will most likely do because it's the one in front, it's gonna make it the decoy group of bikes look real. So here we see I am attacking him from 2 sides. Luckily for me, he was focused on the group of bikes on the top of the map. So I can go ahead and attack his green expansion tier field while he is busy dealing with this decoy army group of bikes. This is kind of what Nod's all about. So I got into his base there because he assumed that my bike army was in the top of the map. It looked like a real force of bikes, and Senna has the experience to know that that's the amount of bikes you should expect at this time. I killed 2 of his harvesters there, quickly nailed both of them with those attack bikes. I'm getting down my expansion here as well, taking blue type room, so I'm trying to recover from this as quick as I possibly can. and I'm queuing rockets to put inside of those garrisonable buildings, those bunkers in the middle of the map. Bunkers have a lot of health compared to other garrisonable buildings, and those are going to provide me with excellent cover if I can garrison them. My instinct here was to go for quad turrets immediately. Hammerheads with Zircon armor, ceramic armor are really, really powerful. Tank tons of damage without Tiberium core missiles researched. Bike's taking a lot of damage here. I'm trying to fend this off, having difficulty in finding the funds to do so. Got plenty of power, not much else though. That quad tower upgrade is being researched. Not sure if I need it at this point. I probably could have cancelled that upgrade and got the $1,500 for fending this off, but I'm going to just about fend this off here. I'm trying to make it so that my elite bikers can get the experience that I need to promote this one to heroic, but I didn't quite get that XP to go heroic. It's gonna make it a little bit easier to promote, but knowing how fragile bikes are, nothing short of a heroic bike is gonna survive, so I'm hoping that it gets something else killed later on. I've got that secret shrine. I'm getting the upgrade for my infantry. Black Disciples is a really important upgrade. You don't want to forget that as Blackhand. That's one of their main strengths. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can garrison that building in the middle. So I can secure those two. He's going to have to go for a Grenadier squad to de-garrison that. Hammerhead just about escapes there on low health. As you can see in R19, Hammerheads do show that low health texture and spew fire and flame like they should. In the default patch game, it doesn't do that. Triple rocket garrison there. It's going to be incredibly difficult for him to engage that. It's also going to give me a fallback location for these bikes. Bikes are going to be very bullish with these bikes. I'm going to go into his base and try and kill a harvester. I took a swipe at one of them. And Senna's deciding to engage into this bunker here, and you're going to see why it's a bad idea. Without overwhelming forces, this bunker is taking so much damage, is dealing so much damage. I'm thinning out the pitbull falls. Hammerheads being taken out. He's just queuing in those hammerheads. Those hammerheads are going to eventually de-garrison this bunker, especially with the aid of this Zocom Orca Strike, which do take a lot of the health off of that building. He's going to overwhelm this force ultimately. I've got my tier 4 down, but I don't think I've got the resources to summon in the Catalyst missile support power that I need. He kills all of that army, and now I'm in a bit of a pickle because Senna is now counterattacking me with a significant force of units. There's Hammerheads out. There's also soon to be a Marv out as well. And I've only got a couple of pitbulls. There's nothing else really for me, and I'm upgrading Tiberium core missiles, not the charged particle beam. So these shredder turrets that I'm queuing are not actually going to do any damage at all to vehicles, because I thought I needed the tib core upgrade first for my SAM turrets. As you can see, I've got the quad turrets online. I'm getting the tib core upgrade as well. The thing about tib core is it's going to be really helpful for me in the bike buggy transition if I lose my tier 3 later on. If I do end up losing my tier 3, it's not a big deal for Blackhand because infantry and bike buggy are the way to go with those upgrades. Now, as you can see here, I'm really screwed. I've only got 1 or 2 harvesters left. He's ravaged my entire economy. There's actually 4 on my first refinery there, but I am out of funds. I'm not harvesting any Tiberium at this point. And Senna, he is just containing me in my base. I'm unable to get the resources that I need to even queue an obelisk at this point. I'm queuing a second war factory, but I just don't have the funds, because at this point I was like, okay, I'm really screwed here. I need to go for 2 war factories and just spam bike buggy out. This is the only way I can fend this off. I'm actually researching EMP cores on my tier 3 because I want to sell that tier 3 off for the 2 grand that it gives me. But before then, I want to get the EMP coils because it's a vital upgrade in dealing with that Marv of his if I survive this onslaught. There's so many units here from Senna just camping my war factory, and at this point in time, it looks like I'm totally dead. Only a Purifier to my name and like 4 bikes, which are getting milked out of the war factory. Purifier there will hold the line. And that Pretank is going to get burned down by Purifiers. The last thumbnail of my YouTube videos was a Purifier, but the Purifiers here for Blackhand are better in R19. They are $2,800, a little bit cheaper than they were in the base game. One thing you have never seen, guys, is a heroic Purifier. I wonder if it's a good idea to make the experience necessary of the Purifier to rank up the same as the Avatar. Considering how the Avatar doesn't need more XP when it's upgraded with Commandeer technology. I wonder if the Purifier should also be the same as the Avatar when it comes to ranking up. That is to say, a $2,200 unit. Because it's a little bit weird how the Purifier is significantly harder to rank up and yet is the same unit essentially as the Avatar. Hammerheads being taken out there. All the Hammerheads go down, but I'm losing all my bike buggy in response. I was looking to EMP his forces, but I didn't get my buggies in there. Purifier wandering around the side. I'm going to try and get that around there to kill his base, his MCV preferably. He's going to see this though, and I anticipated that he would send his Hammerheads that are in my third Tiberium field to defend his base against the Purifier. So I'm already rallying my bikes to intercept these Hammerheads because I know he's going to do that. Hammerheads get taken out, and now the Marv is moving into my base. That Purifier has caught his attention. I'm queuing Raider buggies and nothing but buggies because I'm going to go ahead and try and EMP this Marv. If I get one EMP off on this Marv, then that's going to be great for me. There's a heroic bike for me as well, and I'm going to go ahead and start taking out this Marv slowly. I'm approaching the Marv from the rear because in Command & Conquer 3 and Kane's Wrath, there is such a thing as directional armor. Units such as Marvs take more damage from the rear, so I'm going to exploit that. Infantry, forces in my expansion field harassing my harvesters. Marv will just about fall. I'm going to get myself another heroic bike in the process, so 2 heroic bikes for me. This is a big problem for Senna, but he's got plenty of forces left just streaming into my base, probably looking to kill all my harvesters. Needs to rally his forces a little bit better there. He's a little bit shook now. He's going for eco. He's been leeching Tiberium. I'm only on 3 harvesters, so my income is not very great. I haven't really inflicted any economic damage to him. I've been killing a lot of his units with these heroic bikes, but not any economic damage, so he can keep this up much longer than me. He's even reclaimed that Purifier husk from me, so that is quite an issue. Raider buggy's going to approach this force. I'm going to use these buggies to EMP that Purifier so I can kick it out quickly without losing any of my forces. Hammerheads there getting taken out. Purifier as well going to be taken out. And now I have halted his harvesting on that expansion tip field. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can take out that harvester that is being leeching Tiberium. There's a watchtower wall being made now as well. I'm going to go ahead and EMP this watchtower army. There's infantry, pit bulls, and watchtowers coming down. But the key for this to work is to just send in these Raider buggies and EMP his war factories and his watchtowers. Keep that damage output as low as possible. Those 2 heroic bikes are still going. Look how much damage those are doing. 2 heroic bikes is no joke, though. Still a lot less powerful compared to a heroic stealth tank. They are still extremely fragile. They need tons of micro, and in this game sometimes it can be quite unpredictable the way that units move when they are told to go somewhere. It's a bit of a crapshoot sometimes. So those bikes are going to eventually be forced to pull back. I'm floating tons of resources. That's the thing, right? When you focus on microing, you can often forget to macro behind it. In this case, it was no different. Finally, at last, I do realize that I am floating tons of cash, and I'm going to go ahead and queue some units up. The bikes are taking damage. I'm going to go ahead and lose one of my bikes. That is unfortunate, so things are not going too well for me. I thought I had him at this point, and it really wasn't. He was able to fend that off. I'm floating tons of resources, so Senna's managed to hold that attack force off, and he's been leeching Tiberium on the right side of the map, which I did not realize. But yeah, he's still got tons of income. There's a triple Cabal garrison on the right there for me, so if he approaches my base of pitbulls, that's going to do tons of damage. Units of his going out for a counterattack, but that's not really advised. He needs Preds, he needs APCs to tank this force of mine. War Factory coming back down for Senna, and this bike buggy force is just going to go ahead and harass these harvesters. I'm doing as best job as I can in eco harass. And these bikes with those rockets again, I just think they look much better. With the Tiberium core missiles, it's very much like the stealth tank in the way that they fire. The red rockets there of the heroic bike is to distinguish the heroic one. I wonder if the missile streak of the Tiberium core missiles should be red with the heroic units. That's something I could maybe experiment with. Probably won't look right, much like with the Corruptor Spew, how that is just green no matter what. I mean, Tiberium doesn't change color, even though apparently in the lore there was such a thing as red Tiberium, but not in Command & Conquer 3. Raider buggies there, just microing them around. I want him to come forward so I can EMP a bunch of those Pitbulls and just kill them all with my heroic bike. Harvester's trying to leech that Tiberium on the left-hand side. I didn't notice that my own Tiberium field was regrowing in Tiberium at this point, but it was quite frantic. I'm queuing now a bunch of Cabals from my Hand of Nod, put it on the front line just to kill these rocket squads of his. Cabals with that Charged Particle Beam and Black Disciple, very, very good for that. Did you see that bike just got destroyed there by the Hand of Nod? So that actually hindered me more than helped. Those Cabals are moving forward though. MCV as well, going in for placing down a bunch of quad turrets. That's what my plan is here. And now he's got his MCV on the front line. I've only got a bunch of lightly armored units. He's going to be able to cause significant damage to me because these units just don't tank anything. The only thing there that tanks damage to me are these flimsy raider buggies. Tons of forces there for Senna. Looks like a force big enough to handle mine, but these EMPs are going off and just shutting down his forces. I'm managing to sneak in these EMP buggies and I'm getting some nice EMPs there. I EMP 2-3 Pred tanks. It's enough for my 2 heroic bikes to start laying some waste on these tanks here. Further EMPs coming down, and those heroic bikes are just working down these GDI forces. 1 Pred tank down, 2 Pred tanks down, Pitbulls going down as well. It's just the watchtowers and these Pred tanks being spawned in. I am trying to thin out this force. Another Pred tank goes down. Quad turrets on my Shredder turrets as well, but in R19 the damage on those is not quite what it used to be. More Shredder turrets coming down, and at this point I was like, how is he funding this? I was confused, and I thought maybe I'm going to get my bikes taken out in the end because he's going to build an impenetrable wall of watchtowers, and even a heroic bike won't be able to live through that. So I decided instead it'd be better to go for his income. So I see a bunch of harvesters on the right hand side. I'm going to go ahead and start targeting down these harvesters with my heroic bikes. There are 2 heroic bikes there which are going to start massacring these harvesters. Harvesters have no chance against those heroic bikes. Now if they were just regular bikes, then maybe. And I'm going to go ahead and take a quick sip of water, guys, because it is really like I said in my last video, Cyber, he can cast. I myself need a sip now and then. So my heroic bikes, I managed to score myself a couple of those harvesters. MCV is being thinned out. There's no more Shredder turrets there for me. I've got the 2 heroic bikes, and I feel like I am in pretty good command of this. As long as I can retain my bikes alive, my income is not particularly great. That second war factory on the front line didn't really accomplish much. I was hoping to establish myself with Scorpion tanks on the front line. I do finally realize there's a bunch of Tib on my natural first field, so that is a great thing for me. I don't need to expand at the moment because I have basically a full field of income. I'm taking blue tip behind it though, which is preferable. That's a much better option than taking that green Tiberium. Bikes though for me, just wandering around the place. I'm hoping to scare away these Pred tanks, and I'm building infantry as well. Infantry is going to be great to fend this force off. There's so many Pred tanks there, he can just steamroll in, but it's just those 2 heroic bikes that are going to prevent him from making anything of that. His Pred tanks are going to fall incredibly quickly. Bikes are amazing. I think if anything, this game here is a demonstration of just how good bikes are in Kane's Wrath, because they get that Tiberium core missile upgrade, and I think when controlled adequately, the bikes can do significant damage against even enemy armor such as the Predator tank. No Mammoth tanks coming out for Senna because he doesn't have the tier 3, but he did build before a Marb, as you saw, so he probably sold his tier 3 at some point, and he is now on tier 1, but he's got the AP ammo upgrade so he can spam out those watchtowers, which is a problem for my infantry. Bikes moving into this base. I'm going to see if I can find a gap, but he seems to have forces everywhere. Those Pred tanks are being taken out. I should have maybe gone to his blue Tiberium field and tried to harass his blue tip harvester there, but not to be. Bikes taking out these power plants. Now these are upgraded GDI power plants, so they're going to do significant damage to him. Also, I noticed my dogs are barking a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and close my blinds. I'm casting during the day, so it's really hard to get a very quiet environment here, but I do apologize if that is seeping through into the video. So that should alleviate that noise there. Bunch of bikes again for me. I'm trying to find enemy harvesters. None of the blue Tiburon field. I saw he didn't take the EMP spike either. Harvesters of mine basically leeching nothing from that blue tip field. I've harvested everything. Pred tank's there. He's trying to stop me from harvesting tip, but he doesn't know that I'm in my natural field with the harvesters. I've got more than enough income. I actually captured the expansion point with an engineer. Before I had an engineer, and I decided to capture that instead of move it to my MCV to that location. It's going to allow me to get down expansion a little bit sooner. I'm building infantry. I try to harass him on his natural field, go around the defenses that he had placed, and now he's forced to move back his harvester's heroic bike. They're almost getting destroyed. A bit of bad pathing there for me. He's got double ref on his field. I'm only on the one ref. He's been at his expansion for quite a while. He's actually managed to establish a pretty good income, considering that I've been non-stop aggressively harassing him with these bikes. Those two heroic bikes are doing some significant damage. Another hand and nod coming down for me. This is a good tactic for Black Hand when you are in need of units. Just build a bunch of hand of nods and spam out that infantry. Never a bad option. In R19 they are a little bit better because of the Confessor Cabal. They no longer move out of the rocket squad range, so they now buff them with their Aurora effect even when they are shooting. Before they would just move out of the range and stop buffing rockets. That's how they were perceived to be weaker in previous patches. Heroic bikes, they're absolutely carving a hole in this income here of Senna. Senna's going to be forced to make a move soon because he has lost almost all of his harvesters, but he still has a force which I have yet to really combat. APC spam there as well for Senna. Bikes there, just going to target these harvesters. Bike getting really low on health. I just about sneak away from that. No cloaking field for me, obviously, because I'm Black Hand. Black Hand don't get stealth, but if I was not in this situation, it would definitely be worth the 3 grand for that cloaking support power, because Pitbulls sure are no match against those heroic bikes. Now, speaking of heroic bikes, I did make a pretty catastrophic mistake here. As you can see, I sent them into this MCV's location. I was busy microing my EMP bikes, but the thing I wasn't microing was my heroic bikes, and I actually EMP'd my heroic bikes when I was EMPing the MCV, and now I've lost both of them. So now Senna has found himself a major win there by killing those 2 bikes. That was a big fail by me. So this is a mistake. I'm going to use my Tiburon Vapor Bomb because I don't really have much else. I'm floating all these resources and I need to use these support powers because I spent money on this chemical plant. So I decided to throw down the Tib Vapor Bomb. There's a bunch of infantry units as well being made, but they're just going to get milked out of this. Hand of Nod, Obelisk of Light getting taken out. I'm queuing Obelisk, but the moment he builds... the moment I build them, they're just going to get focused down immediately. Panic Fanatic squad's coming out, hoping to get a nice amount of AoE damage on this tier 1 army, but it's not quite happening for me. Power scan goes off by mistake, but that's free in this patch, so that's not a big deal. Lots of EMP buggies there, which I forgot about. Maybe I can halt the advancement of this force by unloading EMP on this army, just so I can get my Purifier and Infantry force into this fight before I lose control of this field. MCV for Senna moving into this base, but because I harassed his income before with those heroic bikes, I don't think he's going to have enough, but we shall see. That's not a real nuke, folks. That is just a decoy. But it's very good sometimes for stopping your opponent from getting any line of sight, because that does prevent line of sight of units such as those Predator tanks and APCs. Now the good thing about Purifiers here is it's going to prevent those Predator tanks and APCs from crushing this army, because the Purifiers are standing in amongst the infantry units. That means that those Pred tanks pathing will not be directly through my infantry, and as a result my infantry is going to be protected from crushing well enough, and that force was taken out ultimately there by the combination of Purifiers and infantry. Purifiers provide the same infantry buff to those Black Hand rocket squads compared to the Cabals. They don't stack. There's no stacking of that buff. You can only buff with either the Confessor Cabal or the Purifier. In that case there it was the Purifier. So yeah, GG there. I really thought that was a great game to highlight on Tournament Creator. Pretty long one, but I thought it was fun with the heroic bikes, a good demonstration of bike buggy play and a comeback which I made possible with that, because I got my income harassed and I was beaten down severely, and I was still able to come back and win that game despite what had happened. So yeah guys, hope you all enjoyed that game, and if you did, then don't forget to smash that like button. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. So yeah guys, hope you enjoyed it. This is going to be me, Master Leaf. Peace out.